Hello everyone, welcome back to my look at my old superhero drawings. I'm going to continue to look through these and try to remember them as best as I can. Those of you who have been watching the series up to this point probably know that some characters I remember better than others. And these two, as soon as I saw them, I immediately recognized them and didn't know who they were at all. So I'm going to do my best to talk about these two, and we'll keep looking through here. If you haven't been watching them, these are all villains from a superhero world or setting that I made up when I was very young, and then continued to make characters for all the way up to early college. Sometime while I was in college, I just stopped having time to do these and kind of forgot about them for a long time. But anyway, Firebrand and Firefly, the two fire ladies that are next to each other. Although Firebrand here actually isn't fire-based. If you see the energy up here, you see it's energy. It's not fire. I think it behaves similar to fire, but it was probably, knowing me, probably based more on like Ki from Dragon Ball. But what things I remember about her are that she has this unique energy that she basically throws around like fireballs. But there's something in the back of my mind saying that she had a character who was her brother, and that she would team up with him. And I want to say it was Dark Fusion, if you guys remember from, I think it was just last episode. This character, they're connected in my mind, but I don't know if it's just because they both have like unique energy type attacks, or if it's because they're actually were meant to be tied together. But that's like, it's hard for me sometimes to tell the difference between actual memories of things that I had decided at the time, and just new thoughts that I'm like in my head are memories because they're just filling in gaps, you know. Firefly, on the other hand, does have fire powers. She makes fire. She has fire on her outfit here, and fire in her eyes, you know. And that's it, really. She's just a pyromancer, basically. I think she was meant to be like part of a team, maybe even part of an elemental-based team. I had one team of villains that they were kind of like, not really villains so much as like forces of nature. They weren't evil, but anyway, I'll talk about them more as I come across them. But she wasn't part of that team, but she might have been paired up with like a water person and an air person and an earth person, maybe. I don't remember. I think more likely she was just part of like a group of characters who I had made and thought were cool, but I didn't have any specific plans for it, because I don't think I had a lot in mind for her other than I wanted to have a fire chick, you know. Moving on though, sticking with the fire thing, Flame. Flame is a member of that that group of characters I was talking about. So I had these four characters based on the four classic elements who were they were supposed to be tied together as like some kind of like pure elemental type thing, where they were just normal people that ended up getting elemental powers, but there was supposed to be some kind of story where they ended up together and kind of lost a bit of their humanity through something. It wouldn't have been magic, because I was very strict about not having magic in my in this universe. I was very anti-magic when I made it, because I was, I think, a teenager when I decided that, and I was like, magic's not realistic. I don't want that. I want to have fire people. So I know that it wouldn't have been like a magical, like, oh, the spirits of the earth or reincarnations of real elementals or anything like that. Maybe it was some kind of psychic thing with like a psychic villain. That sounds right when I say it out loud. I don't know, but anyway, he was the fire one, and as we go through, there should be an air one and a water one, and the earth one I think might have been was his name Trimmer, who was a superhero character. I don't know if you guys remember him. He didn't leave a huge impact, and he wasn't like made of earth. I remember he was supposed to be him at one point. I'm seeing if I can find him here. So Trimmer had like earthquake powers, and I think it was originally supposed to be him, I think similarly, Tsunami might have been originally made for that role too, but I know there was another water character I used, who's on the villain side we haven't gotten to yet. I don't remember if I replaced Trimmer though. If there's an Earth person, we'll see. If there is, they'll be immediately recognizable because it'll be a similar design to this, where he's made of Earth. Now the thing with Flame is I'm trying to remember if this is the character I'm thinking of, and I think it is. So I mentioned that I'd actually written a couple of the stories, and the very first one that I wrote in like a serial format, like it was supposed to be the first episode of a series of adventures, was for Iceberg. And in that, Iceberg fought a fire guy, and he killed the fire guy in that story, but I think I changed that later so I could use him for this elemental thing, but this is the fire guy. And when I first drew him in elementary school, I remember having these drawings of, it was just like a black suit of armor with fire shooting out like the hands and like the head. And then later, when I got to be old enough that I wrote the story, I changed it so he was a bit more like this. I don't think he was like naked and in fire like this, but he was still just like a flaming person, just like constantly on a fire. And that was part of his character, that he can't like put the fire out. So if he wasn't killed in the story and I did keep him around, he would have to be incarcerated in a particular way, and he wouldn't be able to live a normal life even if he wanted to, because it was kind of like Iceberg's power, because they gained their powers at the same time from the same chemical. It was just like something you couldn't turn off. Iceberg was always covered in ice, Flame is always on fire. Which, you know, I would lead somebody to be kind of a villain. It's hard to be a social, productive member of society when you're constantly on fire. Anyway, moving on, because I don't have a lot to say about Flame, because, like I said, he was originally killed off in his first appearance. Foil is this is a later character. I can just tell from the way he was drawn that this was like maybe after high school, but maybe not college, or possibly early college. I think I just wanted to do a pun. Looking at it, like you could probably tell he's got like a rapier here, and he would have been like a fencing type swordsman. And there's the old like the term foil as in like a fencing sword, but also foil as in just like the opposite of the hero, and he's the foil to some hero. I don't remember who he was supposed to be with, but yeah, that's all I've got for him. Is I think I just had a pun that I liked. Forest. Oh crap. Okay, so this is a redraw. My original drawing of Forest was very early. This one and the next one are both characters I redrew. And I can't remember. Okay, I remember now. Dr. Ray, if you remember Dr. Ray from a lot earlier, I'll see if I can find her while I'm talking about it. That was easy. She is a light-based superhero who was part of a team of scientists and that was trying to study Ruglanium, the thing that gives everyone superpowers. When it was first discovered, and she was like the head scientist. Forest was his real name. I don't remember if it was his first or last name, but it's not really important. He was one of the scientists, and I think he got the same power. I think he also got a light-based power. He didn't adopt like a superhero gimmick or anything. Like you can see, he's just in regular clothes. But he was supposed to be Dr. Ray's antagonist. I think he was like a spurned lover type. I think he was interested in Dr. Ray, and she was not interested in him. I think I mentioned before, I'm pretty sure she was supposed to get together with Insect Man, who was a member of her superhero team. But I think even before they got the powers, I don't think she was interested. Because he's kind of a creep. Like, you can just tell by looking at the look on his face. He's a bit of a creep. So I think he had like this kind of obsession with her that would lead him to continue to get involved in her storylines, and so he'd be like this recurring villain and an antagonist, but he wasn't necessarily like her main villain, even though he had the same powers as her. But Yeah, I think he was going to be a big player in her story that way. I remember him being like a major character. I have that recollection in my head, and he was again an early character. Dr. Ray again, also was one of my earlier superheroes. Not like if you were to break up the characters into like waves, the very first wave would be my like elementary school characters when I was in like second grade, and that would be like Iceberg, and a couple others. Iceberg's the main one from that group, and Flame. But then like the second wave, which is when I was in more like junior high and middle school, and I was thinking more along the lines of just like who could I tell fun stories with, rather than just what would be a cool superpower. It was still a bit of that because I was still pretty young, but I was maturing a bit, and Forrest and Dr. Ray and like Ultiman and a lot of the characters in here were part of that second wave. Similarly, R.A. Freeman. R.A. Freeman. This is again. This was a redrawing. It's not the original drawing. R.A. Freeman was a failed hip hop artist who I don't remember if he got like, I think he got like screwed over by his record label. It was like there was something shady going on, and he was done wrong, and through happenstance is exposed to Galanium, and his superpower was just basically your basic brick powers. Like he was nigh indestructible and super strong, good leaping ability, but not the ability to fly, and very big into the hip hop like presentation, just like presenting yourself in a certain like gangster way, and marketing. That's what I want. Marketing himself in that way. I don't remember. I think his actual like real personality kind of evolved. Like originally he was just like a stereotype because I was a kid, but I think he evolved as I went on. But his main story was that he got screwed over, and sort of like at one point I was thinking of him along similar lines to Mr. Freeze in Batman the Animated Series. Not on the same level necessarily, but just in that he's a villain who's trying to get revenge for something that was right. Like he was actually truly wronged, and he's trying to get revenge for that by taking on the record label. He's going about it the wrong way, though. He's endangering people. He's responding with violence, which is just never a good idea. And so superheroes had to get involved, even though his starting point was very relatable and understandable. I don't remember the specific details about how he got screwed over, but it's not really important. What matters is he was wronged. He went after the people that wronged him, and superheroes stopped him, and he was incarcerated. And from there, he kind of spiraled into becoming more of a common superhero, a superpowered villain or antagonist, where he would show up in like typical villain roles, like bank heists and stuff like that, or being like a villain for hire. And I think after his initial story, he was just going to kind of fill that role and just be like a villain you could kind of plug into any situation. But his starting point I thought was interesting at the time, and I was really looking forward to writing his story. I don't remember. He was another early character, like Forrest, and he's probably one of Dr. Ray's or Iceberg's villains, but I don't remember for sure who he was supposed to be paired with. I mentioned Mr. Freeze, and here's just Freeze. This is actually a recreation of a drawing of a Flash villain who's heat-based, who is just meant to be like the heat version of Dr. Cold in The Flash. And I was like, well, that could also be ice. So I just basically made the exact same drawing. That's all there is to that. But he was just a guy with an ice gun. Probably a pretty early villain. I don't think I had any plans for him other than just I thought the ice gun idea was cool, and that was it. So yeah, I don't have a lot to say about him. Like the drawing's not original. Like nothing about this design is original. The idea, this is all crap that I just stole. I do still like it. Like I like this like almost like homemade supervillain costume. It's almost like a Ghostbuster almost, with this ice gun. There should probably be like a wire coming from the gun to this pack on his back, you would think. I don't know if the original drawing had that or not. But anyway, I don't have a lot to say about him because he was just a concept of ideas that I liked and wanted to steal. And speaking of ideas I stole, this character, the General, was meant to be like a mastermind character. His head is based off of Simon from the Teen Titans, but I just liked the like skin over the that goes over the exposed dome where you see his brain on the inside. But character-wise, he was actually based on Android 21 or Dr. Giro from not 21, Android 20 from Dragon Ball. Android 21 is a new character. I got my numbers mixed up. But he was based off of Dr. Giro in Dragon Ball Z, in that he was like a scientist who built a robot body. He put his brain in the body. So I don't think he had psychic powers like Simon did. The exposed brain was just part of his robot design. But he did have like enhanced strength and speed and skill and all that from being a robot. And he was a genius. He was a mastermind type character that would kind of like the brain, since I'm making comparisons. Because I remember what a lot of my inspirations were for these. And I think he was kind of like the brain from DC Comics and the Doom Patrol. In that he was just like, he didn't get physically involved unless he had to, but unlike the brain, he does have like arms and legs and stuff, and so he could do physical things. He willingly put his brain into this body because it was a superior body to his probably dying human one. I imagine he was like an old man who was dying, but he had this robotic expertise and had been working his whole life on building this robot body. He put his head brain in it, and then you had a super powered genius running around committing crimes and stuff. Man, I was really good at naming characters. Ghost can turn invisible, and that's it. Maybe he could go through walls, but I don't think so. I think he could just turn invisible, which is useful. And but I think he was more of a team villain. A lot of my villains, I think, were meant to be teamed up together. I think I really liked the idea of villain teams. Because there's a lot of potential there with these like basically antisocial personalities being thrust together. I just was always drawn to the idea of supervillain teams in the comics I read, and I guess in the comics I was wanting to make too, because most of these characters were meant to be in teams. But unfortunately, that means that I didn't have a lot of depth for some of these who were meant to be in a team, because I would throw them into the team and kind of figure it out as I went along, and that was the plan with most of them. And so yeah, that was the plan with Ghost. Goldie is a super strength girl. She had super strength, maybe super like endurance and durability too. I don't know, but I remember she was supposed to be strong. I think the drawing I ripped this off of was not a super strong character, but she had like really good muscle definition in the picture, and that's why I used it. And I named her Goldie just because she had blonde hair and her outfit was gold and black. And she was another team character, just meant to fill kind of a role as the muscle of a group. Maybe the same one as Ghost, I don't remember. A lot of the supervillain teams I don't remember as well as the superhero teams. Like who was supposed to be together, what their relationships were supposed to be like. I'm sure at the time I drew it I had an idea, but it's kind of faded with time. I'm going to look at a couple more here while we've got time. Goth. Was this character the character that was supposed to be paired up with Firebrand? Because I said that I thought she had a brother. This character I'm pretty is female. Like I think this started out as me trying to draw a character like Livewire from the Superman animated series, and I decided like, well, I don't want to just rip off Livewire, even though she still has like the electricity thing here, but I turn into like dark energy. I don't know. What I had planned for this character may have been nothing, or I may have just changed, because I'm pretty sure I just started off making Livewire and decided halfway through that was not like good enough. So I changed it up, and I added all these like the skull and the dark energy, and I made her hair black and gave her the black lipstick, and I was like, well, she's a goth, so her name's Goth. that's lame. I would think I would want to have a better name for her. I don't know if she was meant to be tied with, like Dark. I'm like retroactively wanting to pair her up with Dark Fusion and Firebrand and having those be like a trio, like Dark Fusion and Firebrand are brother and sister. Goth is maybe like Dark Fusion's love interest, maybe Firebrand's love interest. But she's just a member of that trio, and like the three of them work together. I like that. I'm pretty sure that wasn't the original plan, but I'm changing it. I just am changing it. And I think that's probably where we're going to stop. When we come back, we'll look at this horrible drawing. This was awful. But we'll talk about Graft next time. I remember a couple things by him, so I'll have something to talk about. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I know a lot of these I'm saying I don't remember. But you have to keep in mind that this was a long time ago for some of these characters, and some of them didn't have a whole lot to begin with. They were just drawings I made, and I thought I'd make the stories up later. And I never got around to it, which is too bad, but anyway, thank you guys for watching, and I'll get the next part up in a week, hopefully, and I'll talk to you guys then. Bye.